We're live, Sean.
So what's up, dude?
Guys. Welcome to DadBodTV. My God, this is like honestly, the whole reason we started this is mainly because it's so, like, at least for me, it's so hard to like edit. It's like you make the videos and you're trying to cater to everybody. You want to make sure you're not like swearing too much and all this. So you edit it and it's like, oh man, you just want something that's a little more down to earth. But funny story though, before I kick off, Sean, we created the channel and I totally forgot that it takes like 24 hours to get this thing live, or the live link for StreamYard. So we're kind of borrowing my channel. But if you guys are here, obviously you know me through the channel that you're watching, and then you know Sean through Invest to Live. If you don't, please go follow him. But we're just gonna talk some really cool stuff, man. Probably like Tesla and I want to know a lot about F1 and stuff, Sean. So you're gonna have to fill me in on that, man. Because to me that's just like I look at it as 5 wheels driving. I'm a car guy though. Like I love cars, but you got to explain that to me. But Sean, give yourself an intro, man.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, I'm pumped to do this. I think this is going to be a really fun show we're doing. And this is not just going to be about one thing. It's going to be about just like shooting it a little bit, talking about different things. And then, also some great comments coming in too. Like that's the name of the game here. And so, yeah, so like, look, my background is in finance and tech, but I'm a dad. And that means that I have no free time. I spend it on fields. I spend it fighting with kids. I spend it on trying to do my job while dealing with all their stuff. And yeah, I love it. I love me some F1. I love to talk about cars in general. And you'll definitely hear the Boston accent come out as we go here when I get relaxed and start.
Did you say cars?
Yeah, it'll come out.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
But no, dude, I think it's going to be good. I think there's a lot of stuff going on, I think, that doesn't get talked about in the sense of like, there's always like, hey, let's do a 30-minute breakdown of a stock, and it's like cool, but sometimes it's like a 30-minute soundbite does more damage than anything.
Yeah.
Right, and then you just drill into it. I'm looking at my face on top of this 6-pack beneath it. It's like, what? It looks just like me. It's unbelievable. It's like dead on.
This was our glory days, right? Glory days.
yeah, right. Glory fades, maybe.
Yeah.
But dude, so I'll tell you what. I'll jump right in because I think this is an interesting topic here. So like I was never into. I'm a huge guy. I like big fast cars. I want an Aston Martin. I want to put a McLaren in my driveway. All these things which I don't have, but I drive a truck. But it's not popular in America, Jordy. No, so jump right in. I'm going to hit you up with my opinion here. So I've been watching F1 for a little while. I haven't been in it forever. I never was into this idea of car racing, and like, cause like when you think about it in America, racing is NASCAR. Yeah. You're driving in circles 500 times, whatever, just a bunch of miles, and I could never get into it. I know NASCAR is huge, and I get why it is, and people love the power of it. But like, I really got into F1 a while back, and then when Netflix released the series, it was like, oh, I'm really into this now. So let me give you the quick and dirty breakdown.
Okay.
These cars do 200 miles per hour. They have essentially like no real way to stay safe. I mean, like they have like a beam and a little halo around their head that stops them from being crushed from above. But they're doing 200 miles per hour. It's not a round track. It's crazy, actually. It's like hairpin turns, 90-degree angles.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason I love it. What I love about it is they have to find a way to win out of the 20 fastest cars on the planet on that track at any time. So when you think about like the global perspective here, we're talking about these young dudes who are doing 200 miles per hour in their early 20s, most of them, by the way,
right.
Competing to win. And what's so interesting about it is it's not a fight to get first place. There's different teams at different levels of cars of different speeds of like the backing of like major brands like Mercedes has 2 cars, Red Bull has 2 cars.
Everyone's in it. That's what I was looking into, and it's like everyone's in it. There's even like some nations that are in it. They have like their national teams and stuff. It's crazy. It's so big, and like I'll let you continue in a second. But
yeah.
The one thing that people don't know, and I didn't know this either, but they have the F1 cars. You think with all the turns and stuff, they're crazy, but they have such terrible turning radiuses. It's like, what? I saw this video where he was trying to make a 3-point turn that ended up being like a 20-point turn. But anyway, sorry, Sean, continue.
No. Just saying, like it's interesting that I think that as a very competitive guy by my nature, I enjoy sports, and it's the same reason why I enjoy investing and looking at stuff in the markets too. But what I love about it is this idea that you like, in order for you to win, you are not like just the best. You are the best out of the 20 best, out of the 10 best teams and the 20 fastest cars. So you are the indistinguishable champion at the end of the season. And, there's always controversy because there's like, you at 200 miles per hour crashing into each other, screaming and swearing. You get to listen to them live, what they're saying, what they're doing. But the real reason I really love it too is you got to understand. That Senna movie was amazing, by the way.
That's a Netflix one, right?
Yeah. The reason I love it, and it's kind of funny because we got the Tesla and Palantir thing at the top here. The reason you got to love F1 is what these guys are doing is they're feeding live data about every single aspect of that car in real time to make tiny shifts in the mode of the car, the type of tire they're putting on, how hot the brakes are getting and how to cool them off, the tire wear and tear. They plan pit stops down to the second to understand if they can do an overtake when they come out. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And I'm going to call it out too. Grosjean's crash in 2020. I'm serious. Like, anyone who hasn't seen this, you got to pull it up and check it out, because Grosjean was lit on basically a fireball happened around him. He's on fire. His hands are melting in his gloves. They still get this guy out. He still walks away. He still races today in Indy in the U.S. So
that's crazy, man.
When I say like it's exciting, it's like it's a sport that goes 200 miles per hour, ultra competitive, real time changes. You never know who's going to win. And then for anyone who's watching who happens to be a fan like I am, in a total, absolute, stunning surprise, Ferrari, who's been struggling forever, took first and second place this weekend. And this year, they changed the cars, the build, the size of the wheels, everything. So it's like a whole new season. You have no idea what's going to happen. And in a lot of ways, not to sound silly about it, it reminds me of the way that I approach like my real estate, my investing. Like, even with all the data in the world, then you hit a pebble and the entire car flips over. Right? It's like that's just the reality of what we do.
One fucking pebble you didn't account for.
Well, dude, like I'm looking at the handsome faces on top of the Tesla symbol here, right? And yesterday, I'm going to do an update this weekend for my like options challenge thing I do on my channel. Yeah. But I ended up selling a Tesla put this week, actually yesterday, at $1,000 strike. Made a quick $1,500 on that. Yeah. And now I'm watching as this thing's at like 1,001. I looked a few minutes ago. And I'm like, this goddamn thing, man, it breaks 1,000. It's been good to go. Now it's going to come under.
Yeah, that's so messed up. I mean, before we get on to Tesla, man, like the whole F1 thing, like I've always like I've actually raced cars personally myself, but it's not been like professional. It's been like either on the drag strip or something, like kind of like just tuner stuff, right?
Time out. What kind of car are we talking about here?
Oh, there's been a few, man. Like I was poor as shit before, so I had like the Hondas for a while, right? Yeah. So like the B series Hondas and all those ones. And then after that, I got into German. So the Honda of Germany is basically Volkswagens. So it's like I went into that. I had a freaking brutal. It was a. Do you remember like the 2000 the Mach 4 Jettas? Do you remember those big boxes? They look like little bricks.
I do. Yep.
Yeah. So I had the VR6, and for some stupid reason, I came across some money because like. Whatever. I came across a little bit of money, and I had no idea about investing or nothing. I thought it was like only for day traders. So I'm like, I'm gonna throw $20,000 into this car, and it ended up being like the most dangerous thing I've ever driven in my life. Right. So then I for some reason, it's all I had. So I took that around the track like so many times. So like I'm fairly familiar with it. And a friend of mine, he actually he does like he's an enthusiast for bikes and stuff. So he races bikes. He's like crazy into this stuff, right? But I never got into it, the actual watching of the racing. It's more like golf, right? So for me, I played golf and I love golf. Like it's nice, but I can never watch it. So for me, it's like F1 has started to really come about. Just like I've seen a few other drivers and stuff. Not really Lewis, but like I was following one of the Ferrari guys, I think. But anyway, from before, and I was like, this is really cool. It'll be kind of fun. And Toronto has a bunch of like I think they have a race here, right? The Indy or whatever.
Yeah.
So because of that, I'm like maybe I should get into it. But yeah, man, it's really good insight they gave.
I think it's an important pause here. So are you really Vin Diesel and we just don't? Are you Fast and Furious? Is that what's going on here, man?
I'm slow and delirious, man. That's what it is.
Tokyo no drift.
No, but honestly though, right now it's great. Like I've been putting every single dollar I had into the market, but like before I did that, I picked up a freaking like find of a century. I got I don't know if you're familiar with like BMWs, but I picked up a 335 from 2010, which is like it's got the N54 engine, so it's like a ticking time bomb. But I put in some work, so it's fairly reliable, but it's like it's pushing fives right now. But 500, I mean, like not 5 seconds, but yeah. So it's like it's a little scary. My wife took it out in the winter one time, and she's like, "What the fuck did you do to this car?" But it's fun, man. I love cars. This is great. I might get into it. But
That's
actually,
cool, man.
quick segue to that. Sorry, Sean. Quick segue. Ferrari did win, and I know like a lot of our guys are from the Palantir community, so they are Palantir sort of teaming up with them. So we'll see what kind of results that helped with or whatever. So
well, I mean, so like I saw some really cool videos, and I mean, yeah, they were sort of maybe a little bit like addy type thing, but it was cool to see the way they were working with it, and how they were processing data to get better results, and especially considering how new it is. And also, I want to call out my brother had a mid-90s Miata too. My brother is like 6'6", 3 bills, so his head was above, like he would drive like this. But he was like, I don't care, I want that Miata.
Yeah, it was literally a go-kart for him.
Yeah, you know what's funny too here, like look, just from the comments, like Palantir won F1, Palantir brought Ferrari out of the gutters. It's funny because when you really think about it, like I know it's easy to talk about, the cars and the speed and the data, but the reality is, like, I was watching this thing the other day, and they were literally showing like the sensors on the tire guns, and how like they literally measure to what degree they're coming in at what speed to maximize the performance. So it's actually like a wild thing. I will tell you one cool thing I did pretty recently. I drove a new 720S McLaren pretty recently.
No,
yeah,
nice.
It was sick. I know it's hard to tell on YouTube. I'm a pretty sizable guy, so like this thing had so much room. I was totally comfortable inside of it.
Really?
Yeah, it was a really good, nice, comfortable ride. And then, I know we're going to be a little bit all over the place because it's the first time on, but like, I just was on a flight to Dallas. I just got in, and I was watching the new Bond movie, and they had a new Aston Martin DBS in that thing. I was like, oh my God, that's, geez. Like I'm a conservative guy for the most part. Like I don't blow money. I'm a big investor. But I won't deny, like I came home and was like, geez, I wonder what a DBS goes for. And I'll tell you a lot. So that's probably not happening anytime in the near future here.
Aston Martin is like, I love those cars. They're so beautiful, man. It's like, I'd even get like a V8 Vantage if I could afford one. If I could just find one.
Yeah. The only thing with the Vantage is they're small. They're not that big,
Really? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, a friend of mine's got one. I hate him for it because he bought it before me, but what an asshole. I even told him about it. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get a V8 Vantage and an S2000. And he has both those cars. What a douchebag. But anyway, sorry. Before we move on to the Tesla thing, Sean, did you catch? So that Manny Burnaby guy that you and Chris interviewed him, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So pretty cool guy. If you guys don't know, he's like a CEO of an IoT company. He actually did. It's funny that we brought up F1. He did this podcast with like a former F1 data scientist. So. I don't have a link for it, but if you're following him on Twitter, you can go check that out. They talk about that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, man, Tesla, like I got to be honest. So I deleveraged a little bit 2 weeks ago. I think it was in like the mid 8s. And I was like, fuck, man, this is Tesla. This could go anywhere. This could go anywhere. And it literally went up. And I'm like, damn it. I only sold 10 shares. I don't go into margin that much. Sure. I went into margin maybe like, I don't know, what was it? 10 shares. That would be what, like 10, 12K on one account. So I'm trying to close out all my margin positions, but I pretty much just added to the rest of it. But in this case, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to add the extra 10. I'm going to close out 10 shares or whatever. And then like the day after, it went up like, I think it went up to 920. I'm like, man, God damn it. I can't even deal with this. This was on the news of the whole Berlin thing though. So, I mean, it's fair. I should have been tracking that a little bit better, but like, what's your reasoning for it going up? I feel like it is because the Berlin thing, that thing's been going on for what, 2 years, man? Like they announced that in 2019, I think it was, and it's finally done now. All the bureaucracy.
So like, just even before jumping to the Berlin thing, because I think it is a big deal. Like I know I don't talk about Tesla that much because I feel like it's so well covered. Yeah. But so I don't typically talk about it. But I'll just say, like, I'll call it out. Like, I do hold short put positions, and I actually don't mind if I acquire those shares. That's why I did it the way I did it. Right. And I do own them. I do own shares as well somewhere else. So like, I am into Tesla. I do like Tesla. For me, what the whole thing comes down to this. Like, I keep seeing this argument of like Neo and Lucid and whoever else is out there, and I mean, even GM and Ford, frankly, right? Like, the whole thing comes down to this is their infrastructure is so thoroughly built across so many ecosystems, vertically and horizontally integrated, that it's wild to think that there's oftentimes this idea of like, people say like, oh, I'm playing chess, not checkers. But then the problem is they oftentimes miss the scale of the chess game. Right, he's not moving pieces in a city. He's moving pieces on the globe. And I think the Berlin piece was really, like, no one has ever said this. This is my opinion. if I want to be a major player and I'm taking on the U.S. manufacturers and I want to take on the European manufacturers, where am I going to put a plant, right? I'm going to throw that thing in Berlin and throw it in Mercedes and GM and Volkswagen, everybody over there in their face. And then I also think that, like, from a centralized location, as far as like material sourcing, where most things are coming sort of from like the Middle Eastern area, from batteries, there's a lot of reasons why this is happening. But I just see, like, the issue is execution. It's not the issue. That's the good thing, is it's the execution of what's happening in Berlin, the fact that they're going to be up and running so quick. Yeah. And just in general, the fact that I think people are hitting a point now where it's like the bear cases are not really bear cases. They're short-term price bear cases. I think that's the big difference here. Like, there's this sort of 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, you know what I looked at? I'll tell you a quick side story. I was looking at an account the other day, one of my accounts the other day, and I was looking at some old Tesla positions I had, and oh my God, when I looked at what I sold at, I was like, oh, you idiot, you'd be retired. But like, what are you going to do, you know?
But well, I mean, people thought it was going to go up, but not like this, man. This is like, what? It went up 20x in 1920. So that's, I know. Anyway.
No, but I mean, it's wild. It's gonna be crazy to see too what happens next. I think what Elon's done, which is sort of a really odd and unique, is he's almost like transcended political bullshit in a sense. Not that he doesn't get called out, because he does get called out all the time, but he's transcended in a sense of like where most people are fighting back and forth about like energy sources, or they're fighting about a political party, or they're fighting about a Palantir, right? Because what they believe in, what their thesis is, etc. With Tesla, it's kind of like, look, what do you want from these guys? I mean, you want everyone to be on EVs? They're building EVs. 1920. Admittedly, I thought about it for a second too, and I was like, Shabari, I don't know. In 1920, they definitely had the first Tesla out there, but maybe some electricity going on. Yeah, not true. It's sort of like, because he's so, there's like genius mode level 2 here, where he's like so good about the fact that he presents it in such a way where it's like, look, I'm just going to do it. You don't have to like it if you don't want to, but I'm going to do it. And then he keeps knocking down barriers. So it gets more and more where it's like, you know, I don't know. He seems like he's doing pretty good things. I don't see anybody else really taking him on. I mean, I was at a Ford dealership the other day getting a sticker on my truck, and I was walking around, and I just said to them, I said, hey, I noticed there's really no cars in the entire place. And they're like, yeah, we don't have any. And I was like, what does that mean exactly that you don't have any? They're like, there's no supply chain. And, you know, you think about it, and it's like, holy moly, man. Like, that's speaking to like the true real issue here at scale, is that, I mean, people are going to buy what they have to buy right now, no matter what. And if that's a Tesla, they're going to buy it. And if it's not, they're not. I mean, there's just not a lot of inventory, no matter what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think there's a lot of used cars too. That's a funny thing. Like, I remember where I moved to this place where it's like, it's kind of in the boonies a little bit. So there's a lot of these random small mom and pop used car shops. Yeah. And it's like full of like random cars, which is like surprising to me. But yeah, you're right. Like, so we went to I went to get servicing on my Jetta, and it was like, there was nothing there. And they were like, oh, you know, we'll buy your car back. You know, if you want, we'll buy your car back. And I was like, no, I want my car. Like, I need this shit, man. Like, what are you gonna give me, right? But yeah, so I don't know. Would you get a Tesla? Like, so my mom, it's funny. I tweeted about this like 2 weeks ago, and my mom was like, so my parents are, okay, they're like, okay, so they're basically, you know, these Indian people, they came over here, and Asians in general, man, they love fucking Toyotas. They love, for some reason, they love Hondas, Toyotas, that can, like the Japanese brands, like the stalwart Japanese brands, right? If you ask them why, they won't tell you why, but really the reason is it's because it's cheap. It's because it's good on gas, and it's supposedly safe, right? But if you really touch the body, it feels like freaking tinfoil. But anyway, like, that being said, they love Toyotas. So my dad has like this old beat up Lexus, and it's literally on its last leg, and it's got like 400,000 kilometers, man. I don't know the miles conversion, but it's pretty high. Okay. So it's been pretty reliable. So I was like, listen, guys, why don't you just go get a Tesla? You would never have to do an oil change. Just do it, right? So they went to test drive a Model Y, and they freaking hated it. Like, they were like, it's nice inside. When you sit, it's beautiful. But they were just so not used to the whole new way of driving, I guess you could call it, right? Where they were like, oh, but, you know, it stops for you. We don't like that. Like, all the stuff that you would usually used to sell, you know, to a Tesla for, they'd be like, oh, I don't like that. That's why for me, it's like, that's why I think there's not, the growth is still there for Tesla. Because even my neighbor, so one guy has a Tesla, and the other guys are like truck guys, like, oh, I have a 454, you know, small block, blah, 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 this and that. And it's like, dude, you should just try it. But then you think about it, And it's a whole different experience, right? It's almost an experience at the point. I feel like right now there's a lot of like FOMO people that are buying Tesla. But to turn around to that story, and I know you want to say something, Sean, but to turn around on it, I got word yesterday that she ordered a freaking Tesla.
Your mom did? This is your mom?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
They were gonna get the Lexus NX hybrid, right? Like the little SUV thing. And then they called me and they're like, no, you know what? Screw this. We're gonna buy the future. I don't care. We'll get used to the driving. We're buying a Tesla. And I was like, all right, thank you. So
Yeah, well, it's funny. So like I work full time in what I talk about on YouTube, right? So like I meet with senior executives. This is like a parallel to the story you were talking about your parents. I spend my entire day open to close, travel all over the place.
Yeah.
And all I'm talking about is like digital and direct transformation, leveraging deeper analytics at scale, how we drive embedded intelligent experiences, etc. And what I always use car analogies, and I explain with the way that a lot of senior execs want to approach their business is they want to put a big cardboard box over their windshield. Yeah. They want to look in the rearview mirror, right? They want to look at like dashboards and reports that tell them how they did and maybe how they're doing right now.
Right.
But like they can't look forward. They look forward. They're like, oh, everything's great. It's brown again. It's like, yeah, that's the cardboard box you're putting in front of you. And what we talk about all the time is like, look, in 1980, when I had a 1983 Buick Regal, most comfortable, sexy car of all time, lime green inside, lime green outside. Absolutely terrible. Like couldn't drive it in the winter, and I'm in New England. But powerful as hell. Spun the wheels like a boss everywhere I went, right? Because I was 16 years old. So I'm driving this 83 Regal, and you grab the steering wheel, which is like I got big. It's teeny. It's like teeny tiny steering wheel, and all it had was like how fast you're going and how much gas. Nothing else worked in it. When I bought it used, it didn't have a radio. And I was like, what else do I need? I need to know if I'm going to run out of fuel and how fast I'm going. Great. Yeah. But like, if you told me I could get a magical TV that talks to me, tells me where I'm going and tracks my location, I'd be like, you're high. There's 0% chance I would ever buy a car that has all that. And that doesn't exist in the 80s. But now fast forward 2022, same thing with Tesla that we're talking about. It's the same conversation with data and analytics, same conversation I'm having all day, where it's like, if you walk into a dealer to buy that Tesla and they're like, oh, well, do you want the one with the embedded screen and the GPS and the Spotify and everything else? Or do you want just nothing there? You want like a little clock? You'd be like, no, of course. Who the hell buys that? And the problem is, I got news for everybody. Like, that's how a lot of people still run their companies, which feeds down to their products, which feeds down to the way they sell. And that's why like Tesla could be the greatest thing since sliced toast. But until people start recognizing that this is what normal standard looks like, it's going to be time till they hit that ultimate huge number, which you got a picture of me on here? How do you do that? That's literally what I look like getting into a car. But yeah, I think that's why, and like, I can't keep up with the chat. So apologies if I'm missing anything, but like, I think the reality is, when we're looking at like, would I buy one? Would I invest in it? It's like, have they even scratched the surface? No. Is the globe driving EVs? No. Do we have the supply chain we need right now to get things where we need? No. But the good news is that's okay. I will say to Necroduck, I have driven both a Wraith and a Dawn, and they do have a clock, but then everything turns inside out, and you've got your pretty advanced technology there. And I've done that recently, so just FYI there. Although they do have a very, very fancy clock for some reason that I'm sure costs 25 times what it should. But yeah, I don't know if I would buy one. I'll be honest with you. I think I've only ever even been in one a few times, Shabari. So I don't know. I feel like I'd be open to it. I drive an F-150, and you know what I wouldn't mind buying is the F-150 Lightning, which you can't even get.
Dude, don't do it, man. Sean, don't do it. Like I'm telling you, the reason I'm saying don't do the whole like F-150 Lightning stuff, they're not there yet. Like you're basically paying a higher price for what you would know is not going to be a good, like, wait. I would say wait for the second, third generation, right? Once the battery supply chain finishes up, then the Lightning might actually be some good. It might actually give you something that's like worth it for a truck. Because like I'll be honest, like I have a pre-order for a Cybertruck. I am by no means a truck guy at all. Okay, I placed it in 20 January, I think January 2020. So I'm pretty early there. But man, it's like I can't. So a friend of mine wanted to buy the Lightning, and we like looked at the specs, and it just does not compare, like not even close. So it's like if it's gonna like Tesla is the benchmark, right? So if you had to buy one, I feel like you'd have to wait for a few generations, and then because Tesla's not even going for the whole oh, we're gonna give you 600 miles of range or whatever the case is. They could if they wanted to, but
Yeah.
they're staying in that like what do they call it, the usable range or whatever, which is fine. Which means it gives these other guys time to catch up to that usable range. So and I know someone who has a Mach-E and he loves it. Like it's a great car. It's got its quirks, but you know it is what it is. I feel like it needs a few generations in. You know.
I have to call this out. Great comment. Cybertruck for Cyber Fam. I mean, it sort of is like almost mandatory. That well done, well
Dude,
done.
That's why I did it actually. So this whole channel is supposed to be about like our family in the Cybertruck because I was anticipating that I would get it delivered by this year. So you know, it is what it is, I guess.
That's cool. So let me hit you with a totally different topic here for a second.
Okay.
Sort of on the same note though of like I think what we're talking about with all these cars that are actually pretty expensive in the markets and the investing too. I have a lot of friends who are realtors, right? Yeah. And so what we're seeing right now is like these insane price increases all over the country, which of course is both a supply and demand issue on the real estate side of it, but combined, of course, with inflation, combined with really low with a good jobs report, so people are back to work.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm waiting to see, and I'd be curious what you think about this. And like, just funny story for anyone who's watching this first episode. We don't like prepare or tell each other what we're going to talk about. So like, I'm hitting him with what's on my mind, so I have good answers, make myself look good here. I'm trying to blow Shabari up, but no, like one of the things we're not seeing that's scaring the crap out of me right now is people are so overextended buying houses that are so expensive, always with dual incomes, right? Then I see the 2 brand new cars in the driveway, and all I keep thinking is like, man, one blip on the radar, and we're going to see like a massive foreclosure issue coming our way, because I know like I get like, I don't want to say every day, but every couple of days we get like offers in the mail to buy our house. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's so wild. I live in an area where it has like really good school systems. The houses go for a pretty good amount.
Okay.
And we've watched like, we're in our second house in this area that we live in. Our first house we paid $290 for. It just sold for $750.
Jesus.
And we're like, what? It's not even nice. I mean, I did no work to it. I mean, like seriously. And we're looking at that, and I'm thinking like the one thing that's sort of funny about it is then I see like so many new Teslas in town, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys, you've got $4,000 or $5,000 mortgages, and you're throwing another $1,500 in car payments on top. Yeah. What do you see? What are you seeing up in the Great White North there?
Okay, man, I'm gonna break this down for you real quick. So here's the thing, right? I'm actually from. I bought my first house I bought in like what year are we in? 2022? Okay, so 3 years ago, 2019, right? And it was every single house I bought. This is my second house that I bought. This one, right?
Yep.
Has been a nightmare. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but Toronto. So Canada is literally just Toronto and Vancouver. So I know some of you folks are like outside the country, but if you ever want to immigrate there, don't fucking go anywhere else. Like there's no point. But Toronto and Vancouver, Toronto market is brutal for real estate. Like check it out, Sean. You have to check it out. I'll give you an example. Okay. So when I bought my house in 2019, it was like a little townhouse. It was actually from a good builder, so inside was nice, but it was very small. Okay, it was maybe like 1,000 square feet at the best. Like you'd have to squint at it a little bit, and it cost me about 6 something Canadian. So you're looking at what, like $450 American, right? So yeah, and it's like Toronto is a very expensive real estate market, and that house in 2 years I sold for $860. So like I did nothing to it, and people were like lining up to pay $860, and the only reason we sold that is because we bought this piece of shit over here for $1 million. Right. And it's funny because I live in this place, and most of the people here, I'm telling you, there's massive gentrification happening. Because before, we actually looked at this place before we moved here. It's way out, like further out from the city. And the problem is, like, there is no reason this house should be what we paid for it. There's no and right now, actually, full disclosure, right now we did a appraisal, and we are sitting on $700,000 worth of profit. Like it's ridiculous. It's not even been a year. I moved here in July.
Yeah.
So it's like. It's crazy. And on top of that, you're right. I know my neighbors, all of my neighbors, they have multiple generations. Like I'm pretty young. They had some crazy shit I had to do to buy this house. Okay. But like my neighbors, they have multiple generations. Like, so, and I'm in a court. Every house in this court is like grandma, parents, the kid, and then their kid, who are really young, like 4 generations of people, every house on this court. And you ask them, they're like, oh, we're saving up to get married. One of them is saving up to buy a house, and now they're screwed because the market just kind of went up like crazy. So yeah, it's definitely something. I don't know what it is. I'm not a real estate guy, so you're gonna have to sort of like chime in on that. But I'm telling you, we're actually thinking of moving this year, just to capitalize on some of the stuff.
So I own some rental properties in different areas, and I'll give you sort of the backstory real quick on that because it makes sense because we can always talk about some more detail later. I was still at IBM at the time. This is going back some ways, and I had originally been in finance. I was working in things like commercial mezzanine debt, really financing real estate projects, stuff like that. I love that analogy. It's like sitting in a bar, and I am, I'm not drinking a drink yet, but we'll see how the rest of the day goes. And I remember in 06 and 07 starting to see like, whoa, something's not right here. And I didn't do residential stuff, so I wasn't, directly involved in that kind of talk. We were really doing like more like commercial type stuff, investment bank level. And I remember thinking like, holy moly, like this is crazy. It's going to take one person saying like, wait a minute, why is this house worth 1.5 when it was worth 1 3 months ago? And I remember sitting there in the office at my desk, and we had like Bloomberg and CNBC on TV, and all of a sudden it all happened, right? And then it just went from there. And the thing that's crazy is like when we look back at what happened then, it actually is sort of a relief when we look back to say we know what was wrong. What was wrong was both sides. You had the people giving the money who were like, I don't care what you write. It's on you. I'm not going to check it. We had the people who were asking for the money saying like, I'm going to write whatever I want. Don't check it. I don't want you to know.
What, the synthetic CDOs and all that?
All of it, right? So like you got people claiming they make $2 million a year. They don't even have jobs. You got people not even looking into the people's backgrounds, giving them loans. Like dogs and cats have nicer houses than we do. And when it all came down and crashed, it wasn't hard to figure out like, hey, look, the loans were all bullshit. They were packaged in as bullshit. Everyone denied that they were bullshit. Turned out they were bullshit. All the applications were fake, and people were getting money for nothing. But looking back on it from a financial perspective or a data perspective, what's great is you can look back and say, here's what happened. Here's what led to it. Here's how it got out of control. You can really look at it. Yeah. When we look at where real estate is today, and it's like we're qualifying buyers the right way. Like we're looking, there's no more like no income, no job, no asset type loans, right? So people are getting these homes now, but it's like to the brink of affordability. And of course, what gets scary is the appraisers. The appraisers are also causing this again, in my opinion. I love appraisers. No offense to any appraisers out there, but like, you have to wonder like, how can a house be worth so much more a couple of days later? Which brings me to my point. After sort of all this stuff sort of the level set, and before the hedge funds got down there, we went down there and grabbed some really cheap rental properties. We've never sold, have still held those. Really great. And because we actually charge as a rule, I say we because I have a little real estate firm, an investment firm for real estate. We do we keep our rents like really low, lower than anyone in the area, and we want the best possible tenants, and we don't want to take advantage of them. So like we go out of our way to make sure like, hey, I want you to stay here for 5 years. So I'm not going to gouge you on price. There's no need to do it. But I just happened to pick one up at the end of 2020. Single family, 3-bed, 2-bath type of deal. That's my standard buy. It was $160K, rents out for about $1,400 a month. Okay, so actually, as you can tell, like the margins where I invest are great.
That's pretty good, man.
It's great. That's what we go for. So, admittedly, some of the areas a little bit what you might call like a little bit tougher areas. But if you treat people with respect, they treat you with respect back, and that's the way we are. So, anyways, the only reason I'm sharing this particular story is paid $160 for that at the end of 2020. Okay, I just got an offer for $320 for it the other day. And I called the kid who made the offer, and I said, here's the deal. I'm not selling you the house, but I want to tell you why you shouldn't buy it. And I was like, I'm getting $1,400 rent for this thing based on the $160 that I paid for it. You're going to get $1,400 a month on $320. I'm like, you're never going to make money. The minute you have to replace the roof or redo some walls or like redo landscaping or whatever, if a tenant moves out, you're never, ever going to get any money. Like that to me is like, this like, hey, I want to get wealthy, so I want to invest in real estate. Love it, brilliant.
Oh man, that's happening so often. I mean, I don't want to call people. I'll call them up, but like my wife's cousin has fucking 7 houses, and he bought like 5 of them in the past 4 months, right? So it's like, yeah, it's crazy, and it's. I mean, he's like the champion of the family because like immigrants have tough time investing or whatever. They're like, oh, he's a mogul now, but like. I don't know, man. It's really dicey, but whatever. No, I know what you mean. But it's funny though. Did you see his face when you told him that? Because he's probably like excited. He's like, man, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be the next like what's his name? What's that car guy in Miami or whatever? He's also a real estate guy.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Manny.
Yeah, in the comments, let us know if you know, man. It starts with a K. I can't remember his name, but that guy. It's like, I want to be that guy.
Amit K. I know that guy. Yeah, yeah, he's soon enough.
Yeah. So what if he's like that, and you're like, listen, dude, listen, I'm seasoned. Your dreams, I'm just gonna, send it down the toilet right now.
Well, you know what the problem is? It's like so for what it's worth, I know we're all over the place, by the way, but like we came up with this really simple model back in, I want to say 2014, 2015, give or take. And basically what it was like, it was the math that was required for us to even consider getting a property. And if it was off by 0.01%, we don't buy it. There's no decision making. It's true decision science. Like we're leveraging data about the area, the MSAs, the jobs, the job capabilities, the minimum mid-range and high pays for the areas, likely profitability on rent, blah, 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 all this bullshit. But the truth is we then got rid of all that. And we were like, what are like the 5 or 6 key metrics that will tell us if we're going to make money long-term with enough room for emergencies? So like operational expenses, capital expenses, vacancy expenses. And we went up a little bit high on each of those. So what we have is like a really simple model that can almost guarantee you're going to be okay when you buy it for long-term, even if you have trouble renting sometimes, even if you have to lower your rents. So my point being, like, the beauty of doing things in an automatic fashion where you take discretion out of it is you just protect yourself from bad things. And I hear this shit all the time, which people are like, Sean, listen, you probably don't know this, but to get really wealthy, you got to take chances. I'm like, yeah, dude, I get to taking chances. But like, there's also knowing for sure you're going to lose it in a year, foreclose on it, then I'm going to buy it from you at half price because you didn't pay anything on it. Yeah, so it's like, that's how you get
YOLO into something. Yeah, exactly. Like taking chances. Like that's the thing. I think it bugs me too, because that whole like, oh, we're gonna make it one day, the whole dream thing, it's sold to a lot of like younger people. I know, because I have like a younger brother, and he's like, his friends are all into day trading and all that stuff, right? They don't know anything, but the whole dream is there for them. They're like, no, one day you'll believe me, I'm gonna YOLO all these like call options and all this. And it's like, yeah, take risks, but you have to take calculated risks. It's not, whatever. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I shared an office years ago with this dude, good guy. I see him every so often. And I was saying he was right out of school, and he was like, hey, I want to get into investing or whatever. And I said, sure. I said, you know what? Like, you got to build a nice portfolio, try to target like 8 to 10% yearly returns, which is doable with a mix of index funds, reinvest your dividends, make standard investments over time. And he's like, 8%? I don't want 8%. I need to be at least 50%, or I'm not going to get what I want. I'm like, well, dude, I got news for you. To make 50, you're going to probably lose 200 a lot of the time, right? Yeah. So I happened to see him pretty recently, and it had been like 15 years since we had this conversation. And I was saying to him, I was like, dude, you realize that 8% compounded over 15, you'd have like millions put away at the rate that you were investing. And, but I love that comment. That's so true. That's so true, by the way, too. Like, God, I know you're like the old, like, if I could double my money once per month, I'll be a billionaire in no time. But yeah, I mean, it's just funny how like so much of the stuff that gets excitement around investing, and it's things like, people get really specialized in like a Tesla or a Palantir,
right.
or whatever. And I think it's actually great to do that. I think it's really great to teach yourself proper due diligence, how to understand and measure and value a company. I think it's really important to do so also. But I also think that people sometimes misconstrue like what their skill set might be, and then they don't get the full value of who they are as a person. Like,
right.
And Shamar, I'd ask you, like, do you use technical analysis? Do you use fundamental analysis? How do you look at things?
So it's funny you mentioned the whole real estate thing. Actually, so one of my failed startups was exactly that. I used to look at all the, like the neighborhood data and all this stuff, and we used to weight it. And then based on the weighting, we'd like back propagate some prices and stuff. It kind of sucked, to be honest, but it was predicting it was doing decent in terms of like predictions. But so I went from that to trying to do some stuff for like options and that kind of stuff with my brother. But to be honest, it's been a little tough, because I did day trade for a while. So like I was looking at all those like, spaghetti charts and all this stuff, and I couldn't find anything that stuck. The only thing that stuck for me in terms of trading was the whole volume, where it's like, I would look for like, I'd read candle bars and that kind of stuff. But even that, it wasn't consistent enough for me to say, yeah, this is like a metric I'm going to, sleep on. Right.
Yeah.
So no, right now, really, all it is just research, man. I was into Tesla a little bit, but I missed a lot of it because I just wasn't convinced on certain parts of it. So I took a long time to research. Palantir, same thing. But good thing about Palantir, I knew about it ahead of time. So I was researching for like a year, 2 years, into this company. So I researched into AMD. I made some good profits off of that in 2020. What else? Yeah. So it's really just, I'm just reading stuff, and if it makes sense to me, I'll buy it. That's why I'm not into like commodities or anything crazy, because I don't know too much about it, and I'm learning about it. But once I learn, I'll add. I'm not like, no, I'm not as stoic as I'm sounding. Trust me, there's a side of me that's like, why don't you just buy like Nikola when it was like $6 or whatever?
Like, bro, how much shitcoin do you have?
Yeah, exactly. There's a funny story. I actually made some money off of SHIB. There was a guy at work, and he's like, dude, and he was new to crypto, right? So he's on all these like YouTube crypto channels. He's like, dude, and he's like this like old brown guy. So he's like, he thinks he's just like, he's like, man, I'm hip now, right? It's like, bro, you have to, there's this new coin out there, man. You have to buy it. It's going to give you the greatest gains ever. We're going to be millionaires, okay? I'm like, what is it? What's it called, man? And he's like, it's SHIB. It's like that dog. The dog. Dog. Like, so anyway, it's funny because I'm like, okay, fine. I'll put some money into it. I put $1,000 into it, and I sold it like right at the top. So I made like, I think it was like 6 or 7 times. So it was great. But
okay,
so he still held on.
Like confession mode, because I do a lot of like social listening as part of my overall due diligence.
Yeah.
In a 30-second explanation, if anyone doesn't know what that is, I constantly run and look at analysis on Google search terms, volume changes over time, keyword increases around certain different things I'm watching. So like again, I don't invest in crap coins, but SHIB was a funny one where I saw it hit. I saw that Webull had picked it up or something.
Yeah.
And I also love the parrot bread, by the way. It's hilarious. That's hilarious. But like Doge has some backing, A-Rod, but like on SHIB at like, I forget what it was. It was like whatever 50608 when I got in, whatever it was. And then it ran up like literally like 10x in the course of a couple of days. So I jumped out of it. I'm going to have to now pay a ton of taxes on that. But I did the same thing. I jumped out of it, made a pretty nice little grab there, and moved into something else. But that's the play. Like overall, like I'm an investor. I'm not a trader. It doesn't mean that I don't trade. But like when I do trade, it's because I know that I have an exit in mind. And Jordy, I hear you too, man. I do this terrible, stupid ass thing, like a total moron investor, where I have to know how to do this. I have to stop doing it, but like I can't stop the data from. God, I don't want to say it out loud, dude. In 2015, I got into Doge.
Oh shit! Seriously?
Yes, seriously. And then I got rid of it because someone was like, "Oh, dude, it's a scam. They're going to get your bank account or something." And like, no one knew all this stuff about like the connections to the bank and transfer money.
Okay.
And I like wish I didn't know what I paid for it at the time. And I'm like, oh my God. And a penny, I'd be having this podcast from like a yacht that's pulling my bigger yacht with my jet on it. I mean, it's like stupid. It's stupid.
From the helicopter on the yacht, you know?
Yeah, like I've got a live news crew with me. Oh my God. But man. Even like A-Rod in the comment, like at 5 cents, like that, you still have a nice little grab there. Like that's okay when you play it the right way. I think that Marcus, dude. So I'll tell you a funny story. As you can tell, like I've got no problem talking, but I actually have to get back to work pretty soon. I downloaded a Doge paper wallet, and at the time, I don't know how many people remember this because I got into crypto, thank God, really early. They had these things called faucets back in the day. Shpar, do you remember
No. Yeah.
So essentially, they wanted to like get coins to be more popular very early in the day. So they would give you like a free amount all the time just to come in, share a website, whatever. And not like scammy stuff, but like, hey, this is what we're trying to build. Do you want to be part of the community?
Right.
So long story short, I don't have any of that anymore. I wouldn't be talking to you, but I don't know if you can see it. My office is a mess, but like I've got oh, come on. I was not planning on taking this shit out today, but
what is it? Show and tell? Come on, man.
This is
we rehearsed in front of the mirror.
These are all my miners are still behind me. I was mining back in 2016, so
with ASICs or just like your computer? You
didn't need to back. I mean, granted, it wasn't like high power, but like we were mining Bitcoin, Ether, and Sia at the time. Which, when I think about myself, like I consider myself outside of this fun podcast, I'm a very professional investor. I've got multiple companies I'm involved in and run. Like I don't fool around, but then I think about the crypto funny stuff, and I love it because still the best gains of my life come from stupid things. Like, getting into Bitcoin in the early hundreds. I mean, that was huge.
Get out of here, dude. Honestly, oh man, I wish. It's funny. I don't know. Anyway, that's a long story. We'll do another topic on that. I think we'll close it out soon. This is probably like a pretty good. I think the real estate one is good. We should definitely talk about that in the future ones, guys. If you have any like things you guys want us to talk about specifically, let us know in the comment section below. But really, we want to make this like nice and short, so it's more fun, right? Fun oriented. But before we go, a few things to address. Chicken Genius left YouTube. That sucks for me. Guy had like a really big impact. But there's Tom Nash and a few other folks are still there. But it's one of those things that it's a little bittersweet for me. What do you think? What do you think on that?
I think we were at a time of big change on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think that's a sign and indication of. I think there are some people who've been around for a long time, providing a lot of value, and maybe they've just hit peak, don't want to do it anymore, and maybe there's not much more to read into it than that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, fair enough. And then lastly, we'll have to end up with the family story. Okay, I'll start with mine. Okay, so my daughter started to sing Jingle Bells for the first time, and now she's going to be put in the family choir. So my wife's like half Filipino, and they freaking love singing. So we're like looking into karaoke machines and shit. So it's going to be interesting. She's like super into singing, and unfortunately, we showed her Frozen, so now she's hooked, man. She's hooked. It's like, why? I knew this was like kid crack, but now she's like totally hooked on it. So I'm listening to Let It Go every like 5 seconds. It's actually playing right now. So
and how old are your kids again? Remind me.
My oldest one is turning 2 in like a month, and the youngest one is like 8 months or 7 months.
God, dude, you are so busy. You're in a totally different world than I am.
202, man. Look at this. Is like this diaper box gets replenished every like 2 days.
That's why that's the business I need to be invested in is diapers.
Yeah, that's right.
Talk about golden shit, but it's funny. My kids are 11 and 7, and so the nice thing about that is you get sort of a different perspective. They're like little people. They're small adults at this point, basically.
Yeah.
But it also means that you don't know what's going to come out of their mouth, right? So like, I'm on a phone call for work the other day, and like I'm pretty easygoing about my kids coming in out of my office or whatever. My daughter comes in and she's like, "Dad, I just thought of something really interesting." She goes, you look a lot like Santa if you grow your beard out because you're so fat that you could definitely pull off the suit." And like 14 people on this phone call I'm on just burst into tears. And I'm like, "Thanks, honey. I really appreciate that." But she's like, your beard's going to be so white. I mean, you can see it underneath. She's like, "It's going to be so white. It's going to be great at Christmas time." And I'm like, "That's great, honey. I really."
Yeah, so you got the right idea. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, dude, I love the, by the way, the Cocomelon to Frozen. I hear that 100%. Yeah. We're well past that now. Now we're into like the Disney. The Descendants. Oh my God, we want to talk about misery. Let's get into.
We had to stop Cocomelon. That shit is like so addictive, man. But I know what you mean. My daughter figured out how to say "what the heck," so first she says that for everything. Like the postman knocked on the door and she's like, "What the heck?" I don't know. It's between that and Frozen is pretty much all she sings. But
what the heck?
It is what it is. But guys, we got to close it out. Both of us got to get back to work. I'm sure some of you guys have to too. Honestly, it is awesome that you guys are joining. Feel free to let us know in the comment section below. This video, I'm actually going to cap it here. We're going to post it on the new channel. I'll put a link to it. Yeah, it's just called DadBodTV. I'm pretty sure it's start to search up, but I'll put a link to it. And I really appreciate you guys joining. We're really just shooting the shit. This is our first episode, but we'll shoot more of these. Like bi-weekly-ish? We'll plan something out. But if you guys want us to figure out and cut a certain topic and talk about it, feel free to let us know on Twitter or just comment in one of these videos and we'll follow up with that. Sean, want to close it off, man?
I got nothing to add. This was a lot of fun. We're going to do a lot more. I'm definitely interested in talking to other people and any topics you want to talk about. There's nothing really off the table here. So thanks for setting it up, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, fair enough. Actually, maybe I'll just leave this one here and then I'll link the next ones later because I know a few folks are trying to stay on. But whatever, we'll figure it out. I'll post it on Twitter.
Cool.
Until next time, the dad bods are out, guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
See you guys.